Have you ever felt ignored or disrespected as you've grown older? What do you do when people forget your worth? It's something many of us face as we age, the feeling that others don't value us the way they should. But here's the thing. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you should settle for being treated with less respect. In fact, it's more important than ever to stand tall and protect your dignity. Today, we're going to talk about how to handle disrespect and regain your peace, no matter how old you are. Throughout this video, we'll explore 6 key ways you can handle people who don't respect you. I'll share real-life stories from older men and women who've learned to deal with this issue, and you'll walk away with practical tips you can apply to your own life. So, if you're ready to take control and protect your peace, stay tuned. 1. Speak up calmly but firmly. One of the most powerful ways to handle disrespect as you grow older is to speak up. But here's the key. It's not about shouting or getting angry. It's about speaking your truth calmly but firmly. When you stand your ground with confidence, people will take notice, and most importantly, they'll respect you more. Take the story of Mabel, a 72-year-old woman who had always been the quiet type. She had a large, close-knit family, and while they loved her, they often brushed off her opinions or made decisions without asking for her input. Whether it was about family gatherings or important matters, Mabel's voice was rarely heard. At first, she let it slide, thinking, "I'm just getting older. Maybe they don't need my advice anymore." But one day, during a family reunion, something shifted. The family was planning their next big trip, and they were about to make a decision that Mabel felt strongly against. Instead of staying silent like she usually would, Mabel took a deep breath and calmly spoke up, stating her thoughts on why the plan might not be the best for everyone involved. Mabel didn't yell or argue. She simply shared her opinion with clarity and confidence. To her surprise, her voice was finally heard. The room went quiet for a moment, and then a few family members nodded, acknowledging her wisdom. From that day on, Mabel's opinions were given the respect they deserved. What she realized was that by standing up for herself in a calm and firm way, she was not only speaking her truth, but also teaching her family how to treat her with respect. The lesson here is simple. Respect starts with self-respect. When you speak up, even in the face of disregard, you show others that you value yourself and your thoughts. It's not about aggression, it's about confidence and clarity. So the next time you feel disrespected, remember Mabel's story. Speak up calmly but firmly, and let your voice be heard. You'll be surprised at how much respect you can gain by simply standing your ground. 2. Set boundaries early. As we grow older, one of the most important things we can do to protect ourselves from disrespect is to set clear, healthy boundaries. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when family members or others demand your time and energy without considering your needs. But by setting boundaries early, you teach people how to treat you. Harold, an 80-year-old man, had always been the go-to person in his family. He was generous with his time, always willing to lend a hand or listen to someone's problems. But over time, Harold began to feel drained. His children and grandchildren often dropped by unannounced, expecting him to be available whenever they needed him, without considering his own schedule or personal time. One afternoon, after yet another unexpected visit from his daughter, Harold realized he was becoming resentful. He loved his family, but he also needed time for himself. So Harold decided to make a change. The next time someone called to say they were coming over, Harold calmly explained that he needed a little more notice before visits, and politely said no when someone asked for help at inconvenient times. At first, his family members were surprised. They weren't used to Harold setting limits. But with each clear boundary he set, Harold noticed something remarkable. His family began to respect his time more. They understood that while he was still there for them, he also had the right to say no when he needed to. The lesson Harold's story teaches us is that setting boundaries doesn't mean you're being selfish. It means you're respecting your own needs and protecting your personal space. By setting clear boundaries early, you prevent feelings of resentment and frustration from building up. You show others that you are still in control of your life and that your time and energy are valuable. So, whether it's limiting visits, saying no to extra responsibilities, or simply asking for some quiet time, make sure to set boundaries that will help you maintain your peace and dignity as you grow older. 3. Distance yourself from toxic people. As we grow older, one of the most important lessons we can learn is that not all relationships are worth holding on to. Some people bring joy and positivity into our lives, while others, whether intentionally or not, create stress and diminish our self-worth. It's essential to recognize when it's time to distance ourselves from toxic people who don't show us the respect we deserve. Take the story of Alice, a 75-year-old woman who had a longtime friend named Clara. For years, Alice and Clara were inseparable. But over time, Alice began to notice that their conversations were always negative. Clara would often belittle Alice's achievements, dismiss her opinions, and make cutting remarks about her age. At first, Alice brushed it off, thinking that maybe Clara just didn't know how much her words hurt. But as time went on, Alice found herself feeling drained and unhappy after every interaction. It wasn't just the words, it was the constant undermining of her worth. One day, after yet another conversation where Clara made Alice feel small, Alice realized that she had to make a change. She made the difficult decision to distance herself from Clara, even though it meant losing a long-term friend. It wasn't easy, but Alice soon found that the solitude she had feared wasn't as bad as she thought. In fact, she began to enjoy the peace and freedom that came with being away from toxic company. She spent more time with supportive friends and family who lifted her up rather than brought her down. The lesson Alice's story teaches is clear. Choosing who you spend your time with is incredibly powerful. It's okay to walk away from people who don't bring you respect or joy. You deserve to be surrounded by individuals who make you feel valued, not diminished. And while it may be difficult to let go of long-standing relationships, distancing yourself from toxic people can open the door to healthier, more fulfilling connections. As you grow older, protecting your peace becomes even more important, and that means choosing wisely who you let into your life. 4. Embrace your strengths and experience. One of the most valuable things we have as we grow older is our experience. The years we've lived are filled with lessons, wisdom, and skills that younger generations may not yet have had the chance to acquire. And yet, sometimes those very experiences can be dismissed or overlooked, especially in professional settings. But here's the truth. Your years are a treasure, and it's time to embrace them with pride. Take the story of Eleanor, a 68-year-old retiree who had spent over 40 years working in a fast-paced office environment. When she finally retired, she stayed on as a consultant for a few years, helping the company with training and project management. One day, a younger colleague in his 30s dismissed one of Eleanor's suggestions during a meeting, claiming that things had changed too much for her advice to be relevant anymore. Eleanor felt a sting, but instead of shrinking away, she decided to turn the situation around. Rather than getting defensive or upset, Eleanor calmly shared her wealth of experience. She offered a few examples from her past work, explaining how her knowledge could actually solve the problem at hand. She also took the opportunity to mentor some of the younger team members, showing them how to navigate challenges with the wisdom that only comes from years of experience. Over time, the same colleague who had once doubted her now came to her for advice and guidance. Eleanor realized that by embracing her strengths and experience, she not only regained her respect, but also earned the admiration of others. The lesson here is powerful. Don't let anyone make you feel small because of your age or experience. Your knowledge and skills are invaluable. The next time someone doubts your expertise, take a moment to remind them, and yourself, of the treasure trove of experience you carry. Use it as your power. Whether you're mentoring others, offering advice, or taking charge of a situation, your experience is a strength that should be embraced, not minimized. In fact, the more you embrace it, the more others will start to see your true worth. 5. Lead with compassion, not anger. It's easy to feel angry when we're disrespected, especially when it's from those who don't understand our life experiences or the wisdom we carry. But often, the most powerful response isn't to retaliate with anger, it's to lead with compassion. By choosing kindness and understanding, we can change the dynamic and even shift how others treat us. Take George, a 76-year-old man who had lived in the same neighborhood for decades. He had always been friendly and respectful, but over time, a few younger neighbors started to disregard him. They would ignore his greetings, talk over him in conversations, and sometimes even make jokes about his age. George was hurt, but rather than letting his frustration boil over, he decided to respond differently. Instead of letting anger guide him, George chose to lead with compassion. One day, one of the younger neighbors was struggling to fix his car in the driveway. George, who had been a mechanic in his younger years, saw an opportunity to help. Rather than passing by or making a sarcastic remark, he offered his assistance, patiently walking the young man through what needed to be done. Over the next few weeks, George continued to help his neighbors with small tasks. Whether it was fixing a broken fence or giving advice on gardening, slowly the same neighbors who once disrespected him began to change their behavior. They started greeting him with warmth, thanking him for his help, and even asking for his advice. George's story shows us that sometimes leading with kindness and understanding can change how others treat you. By choosing compassion over anger, you set a tone that encourages respect and cooperation. George didn't let his frustrations control him. Instead, he used his kindness to build a bridge where there was once distance. So, the next time you face disrespect, try to respond with understanding. You may find that kindness is the key to shifting the dynamics and creating a space where respect can flourish. 6. Know when to let it go. As we age, we begin to realize that not everything is worth getting upset over. There will always be moments when we face disrespect, whether it's from family, friends, or strangers. But sometimes the best way to handle that disrespect is to simply let it go. Letting go doesn't mean you're ignoring the situation. It means you're choosing not to let it disturb your peace or affect your happiness. Take Gertrude, a 70-year-old woman who had raised 3 children. Over the years, she'd faced her fair share of disrespect from them. They were busy with their own lives, often forgetting to check in on her or dismissing her opinions. There were times when they would argue over trivial matters, and Gertrude, who had always been a caring and attentive mother, found herself frustrated and hurt. At first, she tried to hold on to those arguments, hoping her children would understand and change. But eventually, Gertrude had a realization. The petty arguments weren't worth the stress, and she didn't want to let her relationship with her children be defined by conflict. One day, after yet another small disagreement with her son over something minor, Gertrude decided to take a step back. She realized that these small moments of disrespect didn't define her value or her worth, and they certainly shouldn't be allowed to affect her peace of mind. Instead of dwelling on the argument, Gertrude focused on what truly mattered: her health, her happiness, and her ability to enjoy the simple things in life. She began to let go of the need to be right or to win every argument. Over time, Gertrude found that by letting go of these small grievances, she created space for more meaningful, loving interactions with her family. The lesson from Gertrude's story is profound. Sometimes the best way to handle disrespect is to not let it affect you. Let go of the things that don't truly matter and protect your peace. Life is too short to carry around unnecessary stress, And by choosing to let go of petty arguments and grudges, you free yourself to focus on what truly brings you joy. So, next time you encounter disrespect, ask yourself, does this matter in the grand scheme of things? If not, let it go. Your peace and happiness are worth far more than holding on to negativity. Conclusion: handling disrespect as we grow older can be challenging, but it's important to remember that we have the power to set boundaries, embrace our experience, and choose how we respond. By leading with compassion, knowing when to let go, and protecting our peace, we can navigate these situations with grace and dignity. Thank you for watching. If you found these tips helpful, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to leave a comment with a 9 if you're going to start handling disrespect differently, or a 0 if you're going to focus on letting go and protecting your peace. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.